Welcome back to John's Specialty Service Machine Shop. In today's video we're going to be working on the HKS Step 2 RB26 crankshaft. We're going to modify the crank collar to fit the PRP spline drive oil pump.
You'll see that that was almost 1/1000th different than the main journal. So when I dial it in, I dial it on your front main, so we make that hopefully truer than it was from the factory.
And that's going to fit this.
It's gonna.
So if you guys are looking at a PRP spline drive oil pump, you're going to have to do a collar mod to your crankshaft, and today we're going to be grinding the crank and modifying the collar, that grinding wheel. We also have the PRP block brace that we're going to go ahead and get the machine work done for that, which is sitting over there. So if you guys are curious how that works, how to put a block brace on or modify for a PRP spline drive oil pump, this is your video. So go ahead and hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get into it.
So like any part, there's a certain variation, so we're just trying to figure out an average here. So we're measuring one side of this, and I got it close to the split as far as what the gauge is reading. So that's one side. If we flip it over, we'll still get even another variation. Now we're going 0 to +5, so you're just trying to find a nice average and then adding our crush number to it so we get the right amount of crush. I think they asked between 1 and 3/1000 crush for putting this onto the snout of the crankshaft, so I usually shoot for 2.
All the grind numbers there, all the math. Now you can see the original oil pump drive is gone. Perfectly rounded. So balancing.
So balancing, take all the pistons and the pins, and you go through and you find the lightest one. You know, once you get the lightest one, you zero it out.
Okay.
So in our case, this was the lightest piston. So then you go through and check the rest of them, and HKS are nice parts. So 0.6 is actually a pretty nice part.
So that's just the variance between the two?
Correct. So this one, being it's on, well, there's not a negative. That one's heavier.
0.7 grams heavier.
Yeah, which is not very much at all. People would be like, don't even worry about it. But when we do balancing, we go down to 1/10 of a gram or almost 0. So, in this case, we already started these. You'll see the grind marks under the pin there. So this one was about 1 gram out, but even then, we took that much out of each side to balance it up.
I didn't know you guys went that in depth on all this stuff.
So to get it to 0, yeah.
Nice.
You know, it's the difference between a box balance and a machine shop doing a high quality balance.
So it's going to change the harmonics when it's revving higher and...
Correct, but you know, like you go in and you buy one off of Summit or Jegs and they say it's balanced. Well, there's no grind marks on the pistons, there's no grind marks on the rods. They kind of have a generic bob weight that's close, and if you spin it up, it's like a factory balance almost, is what I'd say. It's not perfect, but it'll run. Okay. But then, you know, if you're dealing with a motor with external weights, like a 454, where you got weight on the dampener and weight on the flywheel or flex plate, you know, those parts are usually not on the balance. So then it's not part of your total balance. Or when you're dealing with your clutch, if you don't have your clutch and your pressure plate, that's also a major component that's always way out of balance. So
what if you do the balance and you have like a different harmonic dampener up front, and then you install like a bigger one later? Will that mess things up, or?
Well, it can all change it. There's always variation. So even, I mean, these are all high-end parts on your balance.
Yeah.
And you'll see that...
'cause this is rated for like 800 horsepower. I don't think I'll ever go any higher, but I have one that will support 1,000, which I probably won't ever put on.
Yeah, so once we put it in the machine and balance it, you'll see how much weight I took out of the back of the dampener there to bring it up to, you know, a spot-on balance.
Oh, cool.
You know, your crank was in pretty nice shape. Basically, it virtually didn't need balancing. We just did a couple divots to true it up a little bit better, so the cranks are always pretty nice on these motors.
Did you have to grind any of the, like the main?
Oh no, this is all brand new. We're not touching any of your journals.
Cool, okay.
You know, and then as far as your flywheel goes, same thing. It took a little bit, but it wasn't terribly off balance there.
Oh, nice.
You know, that was about 4 grams, but then the plate on it, there's actually movement in it. So, you know, whenever I do this, I put marks up here. So this, when you install it, this needs to be at the top because the weight of this drops, and it'll change the balance, which made it to where on the bottom side, we took all that out. So it's like, how do you make a system to where once you know it's balanced, it's spot on.
Okay.
So, but you know, when we get done here, we got, you know, I've got this at a race tolerance, you know, gives you a good part, and we're 0.12 and 0.04.
Awesome.
As far as a finished component goes.
And then how do you actually do like the measurements? The machine is telling you?
It's just like a tire balancer. These are basically like earthquake sensors, and just like you balance anything, it senses it, and then it's going to show you on the display here. If I hit the dial here, it'll give me arrows, and it tells you where to, in this case, it's on remove up here, and it tells you where to go remove. So, but you know, we're spot on. This is a perfect balance.
Yeah, thanks for explaining all that to me.
You're welcome.
This is like, I had no idea this is how all this worked. I thought it was going to be like the pistons, connecting rods, everything all together. I was like, how's that going to work? How are they going to rotate all that?
Well, when you do a V8 motor, like take something like this, you actually have to build what is called a bob weight.
Yeah.
So the bob weight's going to be 4 of these, and you know, you got to weigh all the components.
Because that's what I saw. I saw those attached to whatever engine you were balancing when I came here the first time.
Correct. So, you know, V8s, V6s, anything like that. Anything that's a 4-cylinder, inline 6 cylinders typically. Some 6 cylinders you need bob weights on. Just every motor is a little bit different.
If you guys missed the first episode, I will have a link in the description down below, as well as a tag for you guys. So if you want to see how the boring, the cylinder honing, the inline honing, all that works, decking the top of the block, you guys can catch up on that. This is exciting.
Yeah, I got
Can't
3
wait.
more.
3 more to do?
Yeah, 3 more to finish up, and then I'll have that done. So this one,
cool.
Same thing, had a little bit to take out of it. So,
and this is going to be done. I'll probably post the video before I pick it up this Monday. Should be done next week, so I'll be picking it up and taking it to Intech for assembly.
snugged in there.
Okay.
Basically, they tell you, they got a sticker here that says, you know, they all need to be torqued up. So these need to come out. You need to make sure everything's tight, and then you're gonna probably want to Loctite all those in.
Okay.
Just so you don't think I tighten them up and they're one and done.
The crank gear is heated up in the oven, and we're going to be flipping it onto the snout, which has been machined down within the spec of what PRP needs. Just like that, huh?
That's it. That's the whole point of heating it up, so it doesn't.
Awesome.
You don't have to.
That looks so good. So look at the difference. This is the way it came, this is the way John polishes it down to. Incredible difference. This looks like jewelry.
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you guys are curious about the PRP block brace, we are going to be altering the girdle. And are we doing any modification at the bottom of the block? Or?
No, we don't touch the bottom of the block,
So
but we got to machine the height correct for the girdle offset. So we got to machine this down so we get our correct offset here.
Okay. And then we have to like pre-drill and like tap a bunch of holes for all the hardware?
Yes, once we get this down to height, then we'll move it into a different machine and drill and tap for all the new mounting.
So I'm going to do my best to capture the machining process for you guys. So if you're considering doing a PRP block brace to your engine, we'll show you how it's done. Going to be working kind of that blue area first. See, it's a little taller. We're making some good progress now. Making it all the way across. Okay, so he's finished shaving down all this material here, so you guys can see it's all now drilled and tapped, and this is all grounded down perfectly for the PRP block brace to fit on here. He still has a few more holes he has to tap, but you can see all the different holes that were added for the PRP block brace to mount right to the bottom of the block, as well as the girdle. So if you guys are kind of wondering what's involved, this is kind of what it's going to look like, something like this. This still isn't completed all the way, but it kind of gives you guys a good idea what to expect when modifying your block for the brace. So I'd like to give a big thank you to John's Specialty Service for allowing me to come in and film this process of all the machining involved for the block brace and the oil pump from PRP. I tried to get all the detail in there that anybody that has an RB26 and is getting ready to do a build, I tried to film everything to answer all your questions for all the steps, what you can expect to see. And I will have a link to John's Specialty Service down below if you guys want to check him out. But let's get back to the video.
Since we're doing this all by hand, I'd rather not bottom it out, but at least it keeps everything nice and square, being able to drill it and tap it in the machine. Bolts here.
Yeah.
We're tapping all those up for the countersinks, so we got to do every one of these countersunk ones first, and then we got to go through and locate all these on your girdle second, after we get all the...
That's a lot to line all that up.
That's it. So basically,
Yeah.
I like to do is I like to put all these in, and then I'll go and transfer these holes and do all those
At the end.
It's the second step.
Nice.
Is what has to happen. So.
Cool, thank you, John. I think that's pretty much everything. I don't know what else we could cover, so.
Nope, we basically covered it all.
Well guys, that's gonna wrap up today's video at the machine shop. I hope you guys enjoyed the shop tour and kind of a little bit behind the scenes of what goes on into balancing and machining and getting everything prepped. I'll catch back up with you guys when we drop everything off. Actually, I'll probably do an update when we pick everything back up here and when we drop it off down at Intech Racing for assembly. John, thanks for the tour.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. It's the next day. I'm back home and I am super excited for the experience of just being able to go to the machine shop. This is my first time ever seen inside of like engine internals, how a build goes, what a machinist does at a machine shop, and how it all comes together. So I was learning along the way, and I hope you guys enjoyed me sharing that experience with you. And I'm going to sit in the office here. I'm going to finish things up. I'm going to have a Boss coffee, which I found my first one yesterday at the H Mart Korean store. And I figured I'd have a little bit of... ooh, that's really good. This is the Flash Brew Latte one. But we're going to literally sit here in the office. I'm going to grind away at this video as they're doing my grinding on my crank. I'm going to overlay my timeline music, put it all together. And yeah, I'll be back with more. We're going to go pick the engine up next week and most likely take it to Intech Racing for the assembly. I need to call them today. I haven't talked to them in about 8 months. They said they could do it for me back then. And so I figured I could go there. They can assemble the bottom end. Beyond that, guys, I'm not sure if you can tell, but I've been painting the entire inside of our house. We're getting ready to list our house for sale and move out of state to Arizona to a house with like a 4-car garage with a like big shop area for me to work and continue to make content. And yeah, that's going to be the journey of the channel probably somewhat later on this year. So I apologize, the content has kind of slowed down because I've been working on, you know, house projects, painting, repairing damage from the dogs, just doing other kind of miscellaneous projects, replacing lights, replacing smoke alarms, doing all these different types of homeowner stuff, and that takes my time. So content will be coming. It's just maybe a little bit more spaced out, maybe every other week instead of once a week. That's what I'm going to have time for, probably until the move is done. I got to take my head up to John's machine shop. He's going to redo the head for me. Then once I get the bottom end assembled, we'll bring the head back home, put it all back together, drop the engine in the engine bay, and then I can have my car towed to Intech and they can help me finish the rest of the build because all that stuff is beyond my skill set. So I'm going to need as much help as I can get. So if you guys would like to join that journey, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching.
Mark IV Supra.
Fun, that was fast.